My beloved child, stop scrolling for just a moment. There is something about this very second that is different from all the others you have lived. You did not arrive here by accident. Out of countless voices, endless distractions, and the noise that competes for your attention every single day, something quieter has been calling your name. Perhaps you almost ignored it. Perhaps your finger was already moving to the next thing. Yet something unseen asked you to pause, and now you are here. Listen carefully, because what you are about to hear feels strangely familiar for a reason. There are conversations happening about you that you have never heard with your own ears. Words spoken in rooms you have never entered. Thoughts whispered behind gentle smiles. Names exchanged between people who believe you know nothing. And yes, they talk to their friends about you, and they say that you are a burden. They laugh when they think you cannot hear. They wonder why you still keep trying. They tell stories about your weaknesses as though those moments are the whole story of your life. But they have mistaken one chapter for the entire book, and what they cannot see is what I have been writing in silence while they were busy speaking. You have wondered why certain faces became distant without explanation. Why messages slowly stopped arriving. Why invitations quietly disappeared. Why some people who once promised they would never leave suddenly became strangers wearing familiar voices. You searched your own heart, asking whether you had failed them, whether you had somehow become too much, too difficult, too broken to remain close to. Those questions have weighed heavily upon your spirit. You carried them into quiet nights when no one noticed your tears. You smiled through mornings that felt emptier than anyone realized. You convinced yourself that maybe they were right, but I watched every one of those moments. I was there when you pretended not to care because admitting the truth would have shattered what little strength you had left. I was there when you reread old conversations hoping to find the exact place where everything changed. I saw you blaming yourself for storms that were never yours to carry. I heard every silent prayer that never became words because exhaustion had stolen even your ability to ask for help. There is something I need you to understand before another voice convinces you otherwise. People often speak from the size of their own wounds. They measure others using rulers carved from disappointment, jealousy, fear, and insecurity. When they call you a burden, they are revealing what they cannot carry within themselves. When they diminish your light, they are confessing how uncomfortable brightness makes them feel. When they reduce your value to a rumor, they expose the limits of their own vision, yet this is only the surface, because there is another reason your name keeps appearing in conversations you never hear. Something about your presence unsettles hidden things. You have walked into places without realizing that your quiet resilience exposed the emptiness behind someone's confidence. You have survived pain that others believed would destroy you. You have continued showing kindness after betrayal. You have continued believing after disappointment. You have continued standing after seasons that would have convinced many to disappear forever. Not everyone celebrates survival. Some become uncomfortable when another person refuses to become bitter. You wondered why your heart has felt unusually restless lately. Why familiar routines suddenly feel different. Why certain relationships seem to be dissolving without dramatic arguments. Why your intuition keeps whispering that change is closer than it appears, that feeling has not been misleading you. There is movement beyond what your eyes can measure. Long before you notice doors beginning to close, unseen pieces had already started shifting into place. Long before people changed their attitude toward you, invisible currents were redirecting your path. What felt like rejection was often redirection disguised as heartbreak. Still, I know what your heart keeps asking. If this is leading somewhere beautiful, why must it hurt so much? Because endings rarely announce themselves gently. The branches that no longer belong to your future do not always fall quietly. Sometimes they cling. Sometimes they crack slowly. Sometimes they make enough noise to convince you that your entire life is collapsing when, in reality, only what cannot continue is being removed. There were nights you whispered, "What did I do wrong?" You asked that question more times than you remember. Each time, silence answered. You mistook silence for absence. It was never absence. It was preparation. There are truths that cannot be understood while standing inside the storm. Some answers arrive only after you have walked far enough to look back without fear. You have been demanding explanations while I have been preparing revelations. There is a difference. Listen closely now. Because this next part is not something you expected. The people speaking about you believe they understand your story because they witnessed fragments of your struggle. They saw your hesitation but not your courage. They saw your tears but not the battles that caused them. They saw your setbacks but never witnessed the invisible victories that happened every time you chose not to give up. They built opinions from incomplete evidence. How many times has someone judged an unfinished painting before the artist placed the final stroke? That is exactly what has happened to you. They have mistaken your process for your identity. You have been becoming someone they have never met. While they continued discussing the version of you they thought they knew, you were already changing. Quietly. Painfully. Beautifully. Transformation rarely asks permission from spectators. The seed does not consult the soil before becoming a tree. Neither will your purpose wait until everyone approves. There is another conversation taking place that you cannot hear, not among those who misunderstand you. Beyond them, beyond every careless opinion, beyond every whispered criticism, your name has been spoken where fear cannot rewrite it. Your tears have been counted where no disappointment is forgotten. Your perseverance has been witnessed where hidden faithfulness is never overlooked. The world measures success by applause, but I have often chosen those who kept walking without hearing any. Think about that. Some of the strongest chapters of your life have unfolded without an audience, no celebration, no recognition, no public reward, only quiet endurance. And yet those unseen moments became the foundation of everything still waiting ahead. You have underestimated what surviving has already built inside you. Strength is not loud, character is not always visible. Hope is not always smiling. Sometimes hope is simply refusing to quit one more day. You have done that more often than you realize. Even now, as you listen, part of your heart wonders whether this could truly be meant for someone like you. That question itself reveals how deeply disappointment has tried to redefine your identity. You have grown so accustomed to expecting rejection that acceptance feels suspicious. You have carried criticism so long that encouragement sounds unfamiliar. You have lived through uncertainty so often that peace almost feels impossible to trust. But your past does not have authority over your future. Read that into your spirit. Your past does not have authority over your future. There were moments when you believed you had missed your opportunity forever. One mistake, one broken relationship, one painful season, one unexpected loss. You convinced yourself that life had quietly moved on without you. Yet while you mourned what disappeared, something else was approaching from a direction you never considered looking. You have been staring at closed doors while footsteps have already begun approaching from behind you. Soon you will understand why waiting was necessary. Soon, not today, not yet, because if everything were revealed at once, you would miss the beauty hidden inside the unfolding. There is wisdom in gradual revelation. Imagine reading the final page of a story before living the journey. Would the victories feel the same? Would the sacrifices matter as deeply? Would hope grow as powerfully? Some miracles require mystery until the appointed moment. You have mistaken delayed understanding for forgotten purpose. They are not the same. The delay has protected more than it has postponed. There are people who walked away because they believed your value had already reached its limit. Let them believe that for now. There are people who speak confidently about what you will never become. Let them finish speaking. There are people who assume they have already seen your greatest days. Let them keep assuming. Not because revenge is coming. Not because humiliation awaits them, but because truth has. Extraordinary patience. Truth never rushes to defend itself, it simply arrives. When it does, explanations become unnecessary. You have spent too much energy trying to convince people who decided long ago not to understand you. Release that burden. Not everyone assigned themselves the role of companion in your story. Some entered only to reveal what needed healing. Some remained only until the lesson was complete. Some disappeared because the next chapter required lighter baggage. That realization may sting, but it also frees you. You were never called to chase every person who misunderstood your heart. You were never created to earn love by exhausting yourself. You were never meant to shrink your spirit. Until insecure people felt comfortable standing beside you, you have apologized for your existence far too many times. Enough. There is dignity returning to your voice. There is confidence awakening beneath your fear. There is peace growing quietly beneath your questions. You cannot feel all of it yet, but it is already happening. Do you remember the dream you almost stopped believing, the one you tucked away because disappointment became easier than expectation? You told yourself it was childish, impossible, too late, too unrealistic, yet every time you tried to bury it completely, something inside refused to let it die. That was not coincidence. Some dreams survive because they were planted. Deeper than fear can reach, the people discussing your limitations never knew about that hidden seed. How could they? Even you almost forgot it existed. But I did not. Nothing entrusted to your heart has ever escaped my awareness. Not the hopes you abandoned, not the prayers interrupted by tears, not the promises you feared were only imagination. I remember what you have forgotten, and what I remember still carries life. Now pay close attention. This is where the story begins to change. You have assumed that recent disappointments were evidence of decline. You interpreted isolation as abandonment. You interpreted silence as rejection. You interpreted delay as denial. Every one of those conclusions came from incomplete vision. What if isolation has been creating clarity? What if silence has been strengthening discernment? What if delay has been protecting timing? What if the very thing you called loss is quietly becoming your greatest rescue? Sit with that thought. Do not rush past it, because another piece is about to emerge, and once you see it, many confusing moments from your past will begin fitting together in ways you never imagined possible. There is someone connected to your story who has been watching from a distance. They have heard the rumors. They have listened to the opinions. They have noticed how others describe you. Yet, unlike the rest, they have not accepted those voices as truth. Quietly, without announcing themselves, they have been paying attention to something everyone else overlooked. They noticed your consistency. They noticed your compassion. They noticed the strange strength you carry after disappointment. They noticed that even when life pressed heavily upon you, you still found ways to lift someone else's spirit. They noticed what the crowd ignored, and they are not the only one. Another unexpected connection is moving closer. You cannot see the path yet. You cannot predict the meeting. You cannot force the timing. But threads that appeared unrelated are beginning to weave together behind the scenes. The conversations you never heard. The tears nobody witnessed. The disappointments that nearly convinced you to stop believing. None of them were isolated events. They belong to something much larger, and when the final piece appears, you will realize that the very sentence spoken against you, the words declaring that you were nothing more than a burden, became the unlikely beginning of a story that no one saw coming. But before that moment arrives, there is one truth you must uncover first. It is a truth hidden so deeply within your own past that even you have overlooked it, and when it is finally revealed, everything will change.